Good evening and welcome to Saints Live. I'm Steve Forbes, joined once again by Kenzie, Benali, and we're here to give you the pre- and post-match coverage of Southampton's trip up to Old Trafford to take on Manchester United. It's the start of a busy week for Saints, isn't it? And we've got loads coming up on the show too.
Yeah, we certainly do. As always, it's a jam-packed show. Before kick-off, we'll be hearing from Saints boss Ralph Hasenhuttl. We'll be talking all things Saints, as always, as well. And we will be hearing from you, the fans. So make sure you're sending us in your comments and we will do our best to read out as many of those as possible.
And once again, bringing us their insight and analysis is Dean Hammond and Adam Leitch. How are you doing, chaps? You ready for 3 games this week?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm ready. I've been observing a strict fitness regime over the weekend to get in shape for 3 games in a week. I don't get rotated out.
You've been watching Dean's videos on Instagram.
Yeah, basically, yeah. No, I think that would rule me out for at least the first 2 games of the week.
You joke, but it's exhausting probably for the likes of you guys as well, talking about all these games, because they really are coming thick and fast, aren't they? But let's kind of rewind the clock back and reflect on our last game against Everton on Thursday. Our post-match show was cut a little bit short due to some technical issues. Adam, we'll come to you on your reflections from that game.
Well, I mean, I feel like Saints could, and if you're being blunt, probably should have had that wrapped up by half time. I mean, they played fantastically in the first half. I mean, they dismantled Everton, really. They should have got more than 1 ahead. They could have been comfortably ahead by the time they conceded the equaliser. The equalising goal, when you look back on it, maybe 1 or 2 errors, but actually, to be fair, it was quite a good goal. And yeah, you can't really argue too much, but it was against a run of play. It was a bit of a sucker punch, and then in the second half it was bitty. It kind of didn't really have the same flow. I felt that it was probably the first time since the restart that perhaps Saints looked a little bit leggy, like maybe the games had just caught up with them a little bit. But even so, I mean, overall you would take the point. I think that's 10 points from 15 games in restart. I mean, that's a fantastic record going up to Everton, which is traditionally, a pretty poor hunting ground for Saints down the years. To come away with a point and to actually be disappointed you didn't get all 3 is actually a mark of progress. So I think Ralph will be pretty happy with what he saw overall.
Yeah, it was a pretty impressive first half. And Dean, do you think that'll put a lot of confidence into the side going forward with the rest of the games coming up?
Yes, 100%. I mean, the first half performance was, I think, the best performance since we've come back from the mini break. The way the players look so comfortable in possession, their movement, their combinations. I keep saying the structure of the team is really, really good. The understanding that the players play with now, they're rarely out of position. They all know where they're going to move. If someone moves, they move to a different angle. They're creating opportunities. And first half, the way they played at such a tempo and at such a pace was fantastic to watch. The chances created against an Everton team that is a good team at Goodison Park. It's a difficult place to go, and Southampton really dominated the ball and dominated chances throughout that first half. Yes, they conceded and went on 1-1, which was the only disappointment. But like I say, the way the players feel so comfortable on the ball, in possession, and they're playing forward now. They're looking to play forward. They're looking to create opportunities. They're looking to thread balls through. So it's very, very exciting to watch.
Adam, you kind of alluded to the fact that results obviously have been really positive since the restart. Ralph's come out and said that the next step is now to start scoring more goals. Do you kind of agree with that?
Yeah, I think you have to. And that first half at Everton really was the case in point. For any good team to succeed, you have to capitalise when you're on top in matches. The best teams obviously have longer on top and the quality to capitalise more often, which is why they score more goals. And for Saints, I think, yes, they don't have perhaps the depth in striking quality that the very, very top sides do, but nonetheless, they've got Danny Ings, they've got other good support players who can contribute goals. They need to get more goals from elsewhere in the team. If you're being really brutal, there's a bit too much reliance on just the forward players or the attacking players to provide most of the goals, and they do need to try and share that burden around a little bit more. But while when you look at Everton, I know people will focus on the missed penalty and things like that, but actually it wasn't just that. It was they created a lot, and not only created, but they had so much possession of the ball and in good areas as well, where they could have created even more chances. So I think just that little extra clinical edge really in the final third is what Ralph is alluding to. So it's not just on the strikers to convert a chance, it's actually on the rest of the team to be involved in that and to create more when they're in such ascendancy as they were against Everton. They should probably have created more clear-cut chances. Had they done that, they probably would have scored more goals. So I think, yes, that's definitely true, but it's important that the burden isn't purely placed on the strikers.
Yeah, well, not placed on the strikers, placed on the middle of the park. Oriol Romeu is a player that has received quite a lot of praise since the restart. Dean, what has he done in particular to impress you?
Well, he's been very disciplined, and I think that's one of the reasons why the attacking players get so much freedom and are performing so well, because he is so disciplined. He understands the role really, really well. He's come back into the team. He's very, very good in possession of the ball. You rarely see him give the ball away. And one thing he does that I like, the quality he has, he makes players around him better. He makes them perform better. He does the side of the game that some people don't notice. I think that's why James Ward-Prowse is really thriving at the moment. He's really grown into that position in centre midfield. And the four players, the attacking players that are playing front, the two number 10s that are playing narrow and the two strikers, they get that licence to play, to create opportunities, to have the freedom, to play off the cuff because he's there. He wins second balls. He keeps the ball moving simply. He gives the balls to the so-called better players, and he's happy to do that role. He's comfortable to do that role. He's not trying to be something he's not. So his performances have been key for Southampton, and he's been very, very impressive.
Well, we'll be bringing you the team news in just under 8 minutes' time now, so still plenty of time to have your say and tell us who you'd like to see in the Southampton starting 11 to take on Manchester United at Old Trafford this evening. Already plenty of fan comments flooding into us. Emre on YouTube has said 2-0 to Southampton tonight. Ings and Shea Adams to score. Come on, you Saints. Ross Martin, good evening. He's watching us on YouTube. He's going for a 3-2 win for the Saints tonight. Ings with 2 and Prowse with the other. Harry, hello. He's going for 1-0 to the Saints. He says Prowse with a free kick early on. Yeah, Prowse loves a free kick, doesn't he? Susie Russell, good evening. She says, watching in the south of France. How lovely. Come on, you Reds. And Frank has also got in touch. He says, come on, you Saints. Tough one tonight, but we can win it. And Christopher has also got in touch and said, come on, you Saints, we march on. So plenty of positivity going into this one, Steve.
Yeah, definitely. Now, before we get into talking about players that could feature tonight, we caught up with Ralph Hasenhuttl at the back end of last week as we previewed tonight's game.
It's another quick turnaround for your team. Is everyone fit and ready to go again, or are there new injuries to report?
No, injury-wise, we have no new injuries so far. Maybe the one or our player is coming back, but overall, I think we can look in the next days how fit the players are, how much they invested. Don't seem very tired today, to be honest. We are fit. I could see this from the first day when they were coming back from the lockdown, and now it seems that it's definitely an advantage if you are fit and can put a high workload on this in this intense time.
I know you said in the press conference Yannick Vestergaard could be coming back to fitness. The likes of Jan Valery, Sofiane Boufal, Moussa Djenepo, do you think they'll be ready to play again this season?
We don't know. Muscle injuries, you never be sure, and then when you restart again, then after it don't take a long time, then it's too high risk because we don't have a long break for the next season, so you cannot take then 6 weeks off and recover. So it would be good that we keep an eye on them and don't push them too hard to come back earlier.
Well, great to hear from Ralph there. And of course, tonight is the first game of 3 this week alone. So it's a very, very busy time for the Saints. How does Ralph kind of approach this challenge, Dean?
Well, it's another huge challenge. It's very similar to the Manchester City game. Man United are playing very, very well at the moment. So is Southampton, and it'll be a test that, Southampton, I can't imagine would have gone to Old Trafford with much more confidence than they are in the way they're playing at the moment, the attacking football they're playing. Manchester United are a big threat going forward as well. But it'll be interesting to see his team selection. Will he adapt it? Will he bring some younger players in? Will he rest some players? I'm not sure. Training load would have been very, very light for the last 4 days, considering the amount of games they've had since the mini break come back. Would have been more tactical, video analysis maybe walking through some stuff on the training ground in preparation for the game. But I think I always go with it. I know players, can physically get tired and the condition can suffer, but the players will want to play against Manchester United. They feel confident. They'll believe that they can go there and get a win or a point. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see. But changes may happen, but who knows? I would like to see him pick the same team again tonight.
Yeah, Adam, if changes are going to be made, which ones do you think they'll be? It didn't really seem like Saints had a wealth of experience on the bench against Everton last time out.
Yeah, I think that's really true, Stephen. I think that's like part of the problem if you're Ralph at the moment, is that you probably want to give maybe one or two a rest every so often, but actually when you look at it, the bench is mainly packed with younger players. There are one or two experienced guys who could come in and maybe they will get a chance for the end of the season. And likewise, the younger players, I'm sure Ralph's looking at them and thinking, I'd like to perhaps see one or two of these in action before the end of the season. But you've also got to be responsible as a manager and you've got to be cautious where you throw them in. And I've heard quite a lot of Saints fans saying, put out a young team tonight because you're more likely to get points in the Brighton and Bournemouth game. So save your players for that. But actually, I think I would counter that and say, well, the issue with that is you don't want to expose your young players to going to Old Trafford and playing a team who are currently in great form. Because if you put them in and they got mauled, that would do them no good at all. So I think Ralph will probably stay with it. And I agree with Dean at the moment. It's only a 9-game season. And yes, this is obviously a very busy week. And I don't think it's realistic for him to stick with the same 11 for 3 games. I can't see that happening. But I think he just needs to approach each game individually. I know it's a really tedious cliche that I used to hate hearing as a journalist, but it is kind of true in this instance because he may as well pick the strongest team and then see what the damage is, if any, before the next game, and then pick the strongest team again. And then, if there's an opportunity to blood a couple of youngsters along the way, or maybe have a look at a couple off the bench, if there's one or two of the players that are on the bench that he perhaps thinks I'd like to look at with an eye to next season, then he can kind of do that as he goes along, but keep the nucleus of that team that are doing well and are confident, keep them together and keep them playing as much as you can, in my view.
Well, Dean, one man who will undoubtedly be itching to be involved in every single game is, of course, Danny Ings. He's going for the Golden Boot this season, but is his injury history a bit of a concern?
I think it will be a concern, and I think it will be a consideration. I think they'll monitor that situation with Danny, with the medical staff, with the manager. There'll be conversations going on. Like you say, he'll want to play every minute of every game. He's on fire at the minute. He looks bright. He looks happy. He looks confident. So he'll want to continue playing because he'll believe that every game he'll get an opportunity to score. He'll want to win that Golden Boot if he can. But yes, I mean, at any point, could Danny get injured? Could he break down? I mean, it can happen to any player, but he does have a history that his body can be affected if he plays a lot of games, or, he's had some injuries in the past. So it needs to be considered. I think if there's, for instance, if they were playing Manchester United tonight and it was tight or they were losing, that would be an opportunity to bring him off, give him a rest then. But he'll be speaking to the manager. He'll be saying to the manager, I want to play. I want to play every game. He'll be speaking to Prowse saying, I want to take penalties now, because he'll want to win that Golden Boot. He's close to it. He's playing really, really well. So difficult situation, but I think it will be led by Danny, if I'm honest.
Yeah, Danny wants to win that Golden Boot and we want him to win it as well, don't we? Lots of comments from our fans hoping to see him scoring again this evening. Now the team news is in and I can reveal that Saints are unchanged for a 3rd successive match. So your Saints team in full is as follows. You can see it on the screen there. Alex McCarthy, Carl Walker-Peters, Jack Stevens, Jan Bednarek, Ryan Bertrand, Oriol Romeu, James Ward-Prowse the captain, Stuart Armstrong, Nathan Redmond, Shay Adams and Danny Ings. The substitutes then for the Saints this evening: Angus Gunn, Yannick Vestergaard, Kevin Danso, Jake Vokins, Pierre Højberg, Will Smallbone, Will Ferry, Michael Obafemi and Shane Long. So Yannick Vestergaard returns to the bench. Gineppo, Boufal and Valerie still miss out through injury. So let's kind of come to you, Adam, for an initial reaction on that team news.
Yeah, solid pick, I think. Got no qualms with that at all. Said I would probably try and keep a strong team. And for all the talk of Man United being on great form and it being a terrible time to play them, it's not exactly a great time to play Saints if you're the opposition. The way that the players are playing at the moment, the confidence they've got, the belief they've got in what they're doing and how they're executing it out on the pitch. So, yeah, but if it isn't broke, don't try and fix it, I think. And I think Ralph's sensible to keep it going, keep the momentum going. I mean, the thing is now as well, with 5 substitutions available to you, if your players are flagging, well, you can change a bunch of them out. But again, look at the bench. It's largely dominated by young players, the type of whom you don't really want to throw into a starting position. Certainly not a group of them together who haven't played before or have very little experience in a game like this. So pick a good solid team. You've got a few good solid senior options as well off the bench if you need them or when you need them in the match. So yeah, good selection, I think.
Yeah, Dean, Adam mentioned earlier that some fans were calling for more young players to start. Now, they're on the bench, but they're not in the starting lineup. It is unchanged. Are you surprised at that? And would you have wanted more in there from the beginning?
No, I'm not surprised. I agree with Adam. I think picking your best team every game is the right way to go, and then react from that. If players get injured or they look like they're suffering physically, then you can bring youngsters in. Making your debut and coming in as a youngster is always easier coming off the bench to make an impact, because you can sit on the bench and you can watch the game develop. You can analyse the game from afar, thinking, if I'm going to come on, this is what I'll do, this is who I'm playing against, this is how the opposition are playing. So it's kind of easier to be introduced in that manner coming off the bench. Starting sometimes can be a bit of a shock. The game can start really quickly. You don't know what the tempo's like. You don't know who's playing against you, how they're going to play, what the formation is. So I think Ralph's got this right again, picking the same team that are playing well, full of confidence, and that momentum, like we keep speaking about, is key. Adam says it's a short season. It's 9 games since the mini break, and then they get a rest again. So why not play your strongest team? Why not try and get as many points as possible? So I think it's a sensible decision by the manager.
Well, let's see what the fans are saying at home then. Lots of comments flooding into us. Saints FC Vlogs on YouTube has said, we've got a really good record at Old Trafford and I'm going 2-1 Saints. Adam and Ings, come on you Reds. Eric Davidson has said, hello, watching from Sweden. Hello from Southampton. David Barker's also got in touch. He says, I hope we play with the same high intensity as the last few games as we're playing well on the road. So can I dare to believe we could get a result? David, yes you can. I'm giving you permission. Paul, he's also commented, he's on Facebook. He says, watching from my front room in Southampton. Sounds very comfortable. And he also says, come on you Reds. Christy, good evening. She's on Facebook too. She says, come on Saints, let's do this. Watching you from Florida today. Oh, it really makes me jealous when I'm hearing all these wonderful places you're all watching from.
We've had great weather here though, Ken.
Yeah,
Can't really
true.
moan we're not in Florida.
I know, it's almost like being in the Sunshine State in old sunny South Coast Southampton.
Yeah. Right, we've still got quite a bit to talk about as the show goes on. But first, we're going to look back at our match against Everton last time out, where we earned a 1-1 draw at Goodison Park.
Ings goes to the byline in the penalty area. Mina with him, chips it to the back stick. Adams arrives, miscues the volley, and it's stuck in by Armstrong, but he came from an offside position. Early cross into the box. Richarlison's head. It'll fall for Iwobi on the right. Hits it against McCarthy, who batted it away to the near post. Flicked on, and it's 1-0 Southampton, is it? Oh, I thought Danny Ings had scored. Chips it back into the penalty area. Armstrong with a touch, and then Ward-Prowse is fouled. Penalty. His first touch was excellent as it came down off Armstrong.
That's a poor challenge.
James Ward-Prowse didn't score for 21 games. Then he's got the free kick at Watford, away from home the next game at Everton. 20's blasted the crossbar and over, and missed the penalty. driving off the right-hand side down the middle. He's got Ings to his right, tries to thread it through to Ings. Is he offside? The linesman says no, and it is now 1-0 to Southampton. It will go to VAR, but Ings could have his 19th goal of the season. And Lee Mason is walking back to the halfway line, and it is finally Everton 0, Southampton 1. Digne from halfway drills a long ball through, and suddenly Everton could be level, and Richarlison does score.
Yeah.
Right,
Benali got caught.
And he sets it up, and he volleys it home. And Richarlison's gone round Stevens like he wasn't there. Can Bednarik get to him? He thinks he got the ball. Lee Mason, he's going to give the free kick, and he could send him off here.
He was last man, Adam.
That's what I mean. It's a yellow. The Everton staff are furious. That's the full-time whistle. Saints get a point.
It's absolutely amazing that we've managed to go 6 games without properly discussing VAR, because it was always going to happen. So now it's our time to get into it and properly talk about it. The Premier League have come out and said that VAR were wrong not to overturn Southampton's penalty in the game on Thursday. Adam, I want to know, do you agree with that? And in general, how did you think VAR kind of performed in that situation?
I didn't think it was quite such a clear-cut error, personally. I get the argument. I mean, it was soft, and we said that after the game. It was a pretty soft penalty, but I didn't know that it was one of those that you feel, well, that's 100% bang wrong. So I was quite surprised to see that the VAR committee had said that was an incorrect decision. Obviously, VAR didn't have a great match round that time, because they had to admit to 3 mistakes, of which that was one, and probably the least obvious of the 3. I would say, in terms of being a clear-cut error. But I was interested to hear Ralph's view on VAR. He's been very consistent since day one, and I actually happen to agree with him, and I think he's been right from the start, really, that it would be better if more of the decisions were being taken in the stadium and by the referee. I think the use of the pitch-side monitors, everybody's saying it slows the game down a bit more. Well, you know what? A lot of these VAR checks, they're slowing the game down a lot anyway. So if that's the reality of the situation, then, and as we saw, really, you're still dealing with calls that are being made by humans. Other than the ball crossing the line and things like that, these are still subjective calls. Was it a trip? Wasn't it on Prowse? That's still somebody is applying that. Now, to me, when you look at that incident, that was not black and white. That was not 100% sure that VAR got that wrong, even though they said they did. So I would prefer the referee to be making those decisions, personally. The referee to make a decision on the pitch. If VAR think that he needs to take another look at the major incidents, then he should go and look, because he can combine what he's seen at full speed and his judgment with then what he sees on the screen. And at that point, he can decide, have I got this wrong or not? Because I think until you have that greater clarity of it still being the man in the middle being in charge, it being his game, his pitch, if you like, I don't know that we're really clearing up a lot of the arguments, other than the things that are, it is either offside or it isn't, it has crossed the line or it hasn't. Otherwise, I think you're better off still empowering the referee, who, after all, is there on the pitch watching the action at full speed, not sat miles away, watching 25 replays where they're rocking it back and forwards, different angle. And I think, well, I don't know that they get any closer to a correct decision some of the time.
Now, some eyebrows were also raised on Thursday for Jan Bednarek's challenge. Dean, was that either a red card or not a foul at all?
It's a difficult one. I agree with what Adam says there. The referee needs to have the decision whether he looks at a monitor, whether he's advised by VAR, or whether he just goes on his natural instinct and what he sees at the pace of the game. I think that Richarlison was going away from goal, so I think it's a foul, but I don't think it's a red card, because he's not fully in control of the ball and he is going away from goal. He's going towards goal, but his touch takes him away. He's not going to get a shooting opportunity. So I understand. I think I understand the rules of football now. They change all the time and they're developing all the time. But him going away from goal and not being able to get a shot, I think that doesn't make it a red card. But I think the referee needs to make that decision. Going to VAR for a decision like that does slow the game down. It should be just major decisions. He's considered that to be a yellow card and not a red card, and I think it's the right decision.
Well, there we go. That's the views of Adam and Dean on VAR. And Ralph Hasenhuttl was asked about his views on VAR in his press conference last week. And here's what he had to say.
In the penalty decisions, it's always a human decision. So it will always have guys who say yes, guys who say no. I think it's important that the referee on the pitch makes the decision. And if he sees that it's clear wrong, he should change it if he had another look on it. Nobody else, because he rules the game. He knows what level he sets in the game of giving the foul or giving it not, and then he can decide if it was a clear mistake or not. When it's not a clear mistake and the first thing he saw was the decision he took, then you should stay with it. And I think this is the easiest way is to go to the screen and watch again. And yeah, I'm a big fan from the VAR, to be honest. We always speak about the few moments where we discuss about penalty or not. We don't speak about all the right decisions that the VAR took so far. We never speak about that. Yeah? But this is the game for the referees. You know, this is their life. Yeah, you always speak about them when they're not good. When they are good, nobody feels it because they are fantastic. Yeah, and to be honest,
would you like to see them look at the screens a bit more, though? You mentioned the screens there.
Maybe yes, sometimes. We have time. We can edit in the end. So they should take the time. Yeah? When it's really a difficult decision, or when they get the message, it's not so clear. Have a look on it. Go there. We will take this. Huh? It's even better. He makes the decision than somebody else, I think. And I was always a fan of going there, taking the decision. Gives me the chance to coach. Meanwhile, by the way, it's also helpful.
Now, those were Ralph's opinions on VAR on Friday. Now, FIFA have said that they're likely to take control of VAR from next season and make referees go to the monitors more. Now, Adam, you did touch on this a little bit. Is that a good thing, or do you think it's just going to waste more time? We're going to be waiting a little bit longer for decisions?
I think sending the referees to the monitors more often is a good thing. Because, as I said, I really want to see the referees making the decision. I completely agree with Ralph. I mean, it's still somebody has to make the decision. That's the point. VAR is not going to take away the fact that somebody has to make a decision on, is that actually handball? Has that guy actually deliberately fouled this person, or has the guy taken a dive, or has he tripped over his own feet, or whatever it may be? There's still a human that has to take that decision. There is not a computer software that is going to be able to accurately interpret that at this point in time. And therefore, the referee, the man in the middle of the pitch, the man who's in charge of the game, who's seeing it at full pace, should be the one to review it. If that takes a little bit longer, I think that's better. I just feel that we are watching things that feel like they take an absolute age, because somebody in the room at the VAR centre is watching it again and again and again, so meticulously, so desperate to not make an error themselves, that it takes so long. And the referee's seen it at full speed. He's probably, I mean, the one thing I'd say about the refereeing is that one thing I think about VAR is it's proven actually how good the referees are, because the level of major errors is pretty slim, I would say, of where you go, wow, he's completely missed that, or he's got that horrifically wrong. It's often these marginal calls, and that's always got to rely, I believe, on the judgment of somebody who's there, who's seeing it at full speed, and then the technology is there to back them up if required, if they need to go and have another look at it, to back up their judgment, or if it is one of the rare occasions where they have made a clear and obvious error.
Dean, the general consensus does seem to be that, you know, we'd all like to see referees going over to the monitors more. We've spoken in depth about VAR use in that game against Everton, but kind of looking at its use overall in the Premier League, what's your opinions on it?
When it first came in, I thought it was an excellent idea to be able to use technology to try and get major decisions right, because football now is not only a sport, it's a business. So the decisions really matter financially for clubs. But I think VAR has just been frustrating. I think it's been misled, missold to the players. I think the players like to still speaking as a former player, you still like to believe you can have an influence over the referee and have a decision. That's part of football. I'm not saying it's right, but it is part of football. And I think I would like to see referees still be in power, still be in control, and make their own decisions to go to the monitor, thinking, well, actually, I'm in doubt with the decision here. I'm not quite sure. I'm going to take control of this, and I'm going to go and look at the monitor, not be led by someone who's not in the ground, not live, and say, you need to go and see this again. Because, you know, like Adam says, whoever makes the decision, it's their opinion, and it could be a different opinion for someone else. And if the referee thinks he's got it right in normal speed, and then he's been told he needs to look at it, it just takes his control away. It would affect his performance. He'll think, well, I've got a decision wrong. Will I get the next one wrong? I don't want to make a decision. So I just think there's too much doubt, and I think the word for it is just being frustrating.
It's just one of those things, isn't it? It's always going to divide opinions. Sometimes you love it, sometimes you hate it. Let's take a look then at our social channels, see what you guys are saying at home ahead of kickoff, which is, of course, fast approaching now. Jack, hello to you. He says, come on, boys, watching from Whiteley. 2-1 win for the Saints tonight with a Shane Long last-minute finisher. Stephen has said, watching from Paul, he says, come on, the Saints. Mark, hello, he's on YouTube. He says, let's go, lads. Defend like we did against Man City and take another 1-0 win. Yeah, that really was a defensive masterclass, wasn't it, Mark? Robert has said, I'd prefer Long over Shea, but it's still a very good lineup. Thomas on Facebook has said, nothing to lose as we are staying up, so why not go for it? Come on, you Reds. Yeah, love that attitude. Graham has said, strong team again, confident of taking something tonight. Would love a 2-1 win at Old Trafford. A double over the Manchester teams in such a short period of time would be amazing. It really, really would be, wouldn't it? Well, for all our fans who have just joined us late on Saints Live, let's have a quick recap of the team news. Saints are unchanged for a third successive match. So you can see how Southampton line up there on your screens to take on Manchester United in about 40 minutes time, Steve.
Yeah, now we've used tonight's game against Man United to pick out some of Southampton's finest goals against the Red Devils. And Dean, Adam, we'd like you to talk us through some of them, if that's possible. So we're going to kick off with the first one. Adam, if you can talk us through this one. It's Charlie Austin's debut goal to secure a 1-0 win for Saints at Old Trafford in 2016.
Well, I mean, I thought this was a pretty memorable one. I mean, Charlie hadn't signed very long. He was on the bench. It was a drab game. It was a real nothing game. There have been very, very few chances. It was a pretty poor match. And then on comes Charlie Austin, and you almost felt like it's written in the stars. He's going to get a chance here, but you don't know whether he's going to convert it. Prowse, typically great free kick, good run from Charlie Austin, an absolute clinical header for a 1-0 win, and just that's the kind of debut dreams are made of, isn't it? Off the bench at Old Trafford to score the winner after 7 minutes on the pitch, and that's absolute fairy tale stuff for Charlie.
Yeah, that really is debut of dreams, isn't it? Dean, if you could talk us through this next one. This is Richard Chaplow scoring a fantastic goal to give League One Southampton a 1-0 lead over Man United. We did unfortunately end up losing 2-1, but what a goal this was, Dean.
Yeah, and it was typical of Chappie, really. Very, very natural ability of finding himself in the right position in the box. Fully committed strike, an excellent strike. You know, naturally we go across goal, but it's gone at the near post. It's gone in the top corner. It was good hold-up play by Ricky, an intelligent run by Chappie into the middle of the box, and a great strike. And it was a good occasion. We were doing well in League One at time. It was an FA Cup game against Manchester United. The team actually played really well that day. Competed against the Premier League team, but an excellent strike by Chappie, and he'd done a few of them in his Southampton career. And he did, like I say, have that natural ability at arriving at the right time and striking the ball very well. So an excellent finish.
Well, if you thought that was a corker, check out the next one. It's Jan Valery last season to put Southampton 1-0 up against Manchester United. What do you think of this one, Adam?
Well, we looked at the Cuco Martina classic, didn't we, before the Everton game, and this is another Saints right back stunner, really. Bear in mind this goal as well. Jan Valery's 20 years old at this stage. He's barely played a game, really. To have the confidence to just even try that is amazing. And Saints ended up, unfortunately, narrowly losing that game, but it was a great game, and that gave Saints the lead, that goal. And I do remember speaking to a teammate of Jan's, who I won't name, but he told me afterwards he was sort of stood behind Jan, looked at the fact he was going to shoot, and was just basically seething with rage that you would waste such a good attacking opportunity. And then obviously the ball flies straight in the top corner past De Gea, and he told me he never mentioned it to Valor. He just went and jumped on him and celebrated like he thought he was going to score every time he tried that.
Oh, that was brilliant. Love that. Well, actually, in the same game, unsurprisingly, James Ward-Prowse scored an absolutely unbelievable free kick, as he does. Dean, if you could talk us through that one.
Well, typical of Prowse, it's amazing technique, just the amount of pace he gets on the ball, and that seems to be his favoured corner, over the wall, so the keeper can't see it, he's unsighted. It was an excellent strike, and he got so much curl on it, so much pace, a great strike from him. And we've talked about his dead ball quality, whether it's a free kick, whether it's a corner, a delivery, whether he's shooting or he's crossing, but no, an excellent strike by Prowse. And I would honestly say there's not many better than him out there. I know he works really hard on the training ground on it, and it was a great strike and at Old Trafford, and you can see from the celebrations that he really, really enjoyed that one.
Now the next one is one of Southampton's, probably one of the most important goals ever. It's Bobby Stokes in the FA Cup final in 1976. Adam, do you remember this one?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, that's a real confidence boost on Monday night. Thanks for that. No, I don't remember it. But it was obviously but the one thing is that if you follow Saints for any period of time, obviously you get told about 76 over and over and over again. And I've been very fortunate that I've met almost all the surviving members of the 76 team, and Laurie McMenemy I know very, very well from doing his column with him for the Daily Echo for the best part of 20 years. And you can't help but therefore kind of become embroiled in the nostalgia for that day, and what an incredible result. Still obviously the best achievement that the football club has done in terms of gaining a trophy, and Bobby Stokes just writing his name into folklore, really. A club legend, passed away too soon unfortunately, but sort of a legend and a memory that lives on, along with all the 76 team and staff and management, because they delivered the greatest moment in the club's history still to this day. An iconic goal, and one that will never be forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely, and love watching that footage as well. It just never ever gets old, does it? Now, Dean, possibly Southampton's greatest ever player, Matt Le Tissier, came up with this moment of magic at the Dell. If you wouldn't mind, please talk us through it.
Well, obviously a fantastic goal. But the one thing is his awareness and his vision to know that I assume it's Peter Schmeichel off his line, and the way he receives the ball, kind of dances in between two players, and to chip the player from that distance and it to float in the goal was just such high quality. And Matt had that ability to do that many, many times in his Southampton career, and he looks so calm when he does it. It looks so natural to him. But a fantastic finish, a fantastic result on the day. But I would love to know from Matt whether he'd actually researched into Peter Schmeichel coming off his line to try and narrow the angle, or he actually saw it from a distance, because whatever way it was, it's a fantastic goal to be able to do that. And like you say, there's not many players in the world that would have that ability and that vision. So, I mean, what a goal. I remember it. I remember seeing it and thinking, what a finish.
Yeah, unbelievable goals there. So good to look back on those. And it seems as though the fans watching along at home are hoping for much more of the same this evening. Daniel, good evening to you. He's got in touch. He says Saints always raise their game against United. Come on, you Reds. 3 points, please. Ings with 1. Lou has also commented. He said, good luck, guys. You can do it. Thanks for your comment. Darren said, come on, you Reds, from Western Australia. That's amazing. I always think you're so dedicated to get up at crazy o'clock to watch us. Thank you very much. Colin Smith on Facebook has said, good luck tonight, Saints. I think it could be a close game. And Jack has also left us a comment. Hello. He says, come on, Saints. Do us proud. Come on, you Reds.
Yeah, now turning our focus to tonight's opponents. Manchester United became the first team in Premier League history to win 3 consecutive games by 3 or more goals. Adam, is this the worst possible time to play the Red Devils?
It's pretty bad. But as I said earlier, you've got to also be confident because Saints have been playing really well. And for Man United, there's actually quite a lot on this for Man United. Saints have got a few games now where they're playing people who have got something really to play for. I mean, they played Everton last up. Everton, just nothing to play for really. And I know people say Saints haven't got a lot to play for, but I think that they are kind of a strong enough mindset at the moment that they want to keep this momentum rolling. And I don't think they'll be easy opposition for Man United. They're in good form. They go there confident. I know people sort of are fairly dismissive of Man United's atmosphere, but it is still a 75,000 seat stadium at Old Trafford. And when it's full, that is still intimidating to play in. It's now a great cavernous, empty ground, basically. So that kind of area of it is neutralised. So I kind of look at it in two respects. I think, yes, it is a bad time to be playing Man United. And when you look at Man United's team, their confidence and the attacking threats that they've got, and they've got attacking threats really from the defence, the midfield and the forward players, it is a really tough game. There's no getting away from it. But also, I doubt very much Solskjaer has looked at Saints and thought, this is 3 points on the table here if we just turn up. I think that they know that they're in for a bit of a game because Saints are in good form as well.
Dean, Adam mentioned United's attacking threats there. United's front lines just seems particularly threatening at the moment. They really are on fire. How do we kind of combat that going into tonight's game?
Well, it'll be interesting to see how Ralph approaches this, because one thing I do know, the pitch at Old Trafford is huge. So if you make the pitch big, and Southampton, if they press at a high tempo and they leave gaps, it could be difficult. So it'd be interesting to see if they hold a shape, try and be disciplined, try to block them passes through. But one thing I always think, if you're playing against a team that've got very good attacking players that are quick, that are intelligent, that combine with each other, that have an understanding, the best way to do it is stop the supply to them. So pressing Paul Pogba, pressing Matic before they get chance to have comfortable possession to play forward. So to give them pressure to stop them balls getting to Greenwood, to Martial, to Rashford, I think is important. It's easier said than done because they're excellent players and they're fully aware of what they need to do. But that would be my tactics: try and stop the supply getting to them so they can't get in them positions to be dangerous, to attack the back four. So it's going to take a lot of energy and a lot of discipline from the midfield of Southampton.
Yeah, Adam, what do you think Saints have to do to get a positive result tonight?
Yeah, I completely agree with Dean. He absolutely spot on, really. That's cutting out that supply line. I think it is important. It's not the same. I know some people have said, "Oh, you've got to put in another Man City performance." Actually, it's not going to be the same type of game. United have got a lot of threats out wide as well. Man City like to play much more narrow. They'll come much more through the centre, and Saints did a great job of blocking out those threats and those little, stopping the ability for Man City to pass through the middle of you. Man United will play with more pace. They'll be a bit more direct in the way that they go. They will try and use the flanks as well in Shaw and Wan-Bissaka. They've got two very good attacking fullbacks as well. And as Dean said, on a big pitch, that's a threat. So they've kind of got a lot of ways they can hurt you. So from a Saints point of view, trying to neutralise that further up the pitch, I think is without doubt the way to go. And then for Saints to attempt to impose their game as well where they can. Saints have got attacking threats. They've got good players. They've got players who can score goals. They've got physical players. They've got quick players. They've got a real variety that they can call upon. They're going to have to be very solid. Going to have to be some big performances to get something from this tonight. Probably the goalkeeper, the defence, Oriol Romeu will all be supremely tested. But yeah, I mean, how those other players perform, your Armstrongs, your Redmonds, and probably Che Adams in those kind of roles where they need to support, but they also need to be the ones that are kind of putting the pressure on and stopping the supply. Those are probably the ones where Saints need those players to really play well to protect the back line as best they can and give them a fighting chance.
Now, Luke Shaw is obviously the Southampton link in the Man United squad. Dean, was it obvious to you, training and playing with him at such a young age, that he would go on to be such a top player?
Yes, yeah, definitely. I mean, the first time, one thing about Luke is that he's so laid back, he's so calm, he's so relaxed that he came and trained with the first team, and he has that natural ability that he's just playing football, whether he's playing with his friends, whether he's training at the training ground, whether he's playing for Manchester United or in the World Cup or anything like that. He just sees it as football. I don't know if that's a natural thing, I don't know if that's an intelligent thing, or that's just what his personality is like. But the first training session I had, I remember we were playing 11v11 in a practice game, and him receiving the ball from left back and him just gliding from the back four, taking about 4 or 5 players on like he does, attacking, and the pace that he ran with the ball was a bit like Oxlade-Chamberlain, that they kind of look quicker when they run with the ball than without it. So yeah, he had natural ability. The club spotted that from an early age, and a nice kid as well. He's had a good career. He's obviously had an unfortunate injury, but he's an excellent player, and yeah, you knew straight away.
And Adam, just quickly, watching from the stands, what's your reflections on Luke's time with Southampton?
Yeah, I mean, like Dean said, I mean, from my point of view, again, it's another one of those. It was probably felt a little bit all too brief. Not his overall time at Southampton, because he was there a long time, but obviously his first team career was fairly short, really, in comparatively, because he went to United pretty early. But yeah, really exciting player, and kind of following in the mould of sort of Gareth Bale in terms of the sort of similar position. Yeah, it's been a bit unfortunate. It's been a bit stop-start for him at United, and clearly things didn't go great under Mourinho there as well for him. But he seems to have found a bit of a new lease of life now at Old Trafford. He looks fitter, I would say. He looks a lot leaner and sharper, because he kind of has that natural body strength that he carries. Also can, I think, when he's not in tip-top shape, make him look a little bit more like he needs to be carried sometimes physically. But he looks in good shape now, and he looks like a United player. I mean, he's been there a while now. He's kind of playing a lot more regularly, and I'd like to think that his career will continue to progress, and kind of be another one of those that Saints look back on and look at with pride as he does well for Man United and hopefully England.
Well, kickoff is edging ever closer now, but as always, we've still got just enough time to sneak in a couple more comments from you guys watching along at home. Thanks so much for everybody for getting these comments in. Isaac has said, I'm a little bit anxious, but confident we can do well. 1-0, James Ward-Prowse, 30-yard free kick. Wouldn't that be nice? Lakai Tizard has said, little nervous here in Finland, but we can beat them tonight. Come on, you Saints. And a final comment here from Eddie. Hello. He says, go for it, Saints, nothing to lose and all to gain. Come on, you Reds. That's the attitude we like, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Now, just before we go, chaps, can we get some score predictions, please? What are you saying, Dean?
Look, it's going to be a tough game. Man United are in such good form, but so is Southampton, like Adam's mentioned. I'm going to go with my heart, and I'm going to say a 1-1 draw, but I think it's going to be a very, very tough challenge and a tough order tonight.
Well, for me, I kind of got head versus heart. My head's telling me probably a United win, maybe 2-0. My heart's telling me 1-1 as well. But as Dean's gone for 1-1 to keep the competition lively, I should probably go for the 2-0 and hope that I'm wrong.
Well, we'll be back after the full-time whistle to do this all again and dissect our game against Manchester United. As always, Dean, Adam, thanks very much for joining us, and make sure you're back for another Saints Live after the game. We'll see you then.